4, 3.
Good evening. I want to welcome those here in attendance and online to the April 3rd, 2025 meeting this Thursday evening of the Johnson City Commission held at the Water and Sewer Services Complex. It's currently 6 p.m. and we will call the meeting to order. If everyone in just a moment would stand for Minister Georgita Washington as she gives the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, Ms. Ball, and everyone who is joining us. Thank you for this opportunity to invite the Lord into this space. May we bow our heads. Heavenly Father, we thank you for today's blessings, today's measure of grace and mercy, all those blessings that we have seen and all of those that have gone unseen. We just so thank you. And now, Lord, we invite your presence into this space so that you may be in and about everything that goes on in this meeting and this business of today. Lord, as you have said, let nothing be conducted in disarray. And so we ask that your presence and your spirit be an integral part of all the discussions, the conversations, the solutions, and the resolutions that take place in this space and this place today. We thank you that your will be done, and we thank you in advance for what you are about to do. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mayor, your first order of business is to consider approval of the minutes for the regularly scheduled City Commission meeting held on Thursday, March 6, 2025.
Are there any additions, corrections? Second. Ms. Loss?
Commissioner Brock?
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cox?
Yes.
Mayor Hunter?
Yes. Ms. Ball?
Mayor, we do have a number of people signed up under the public comment on the agenda.
So as a reminder, public comment is open to the first 12 people who sign up, with considerations given to those who may represent a different side of an issue. Comments must be germane to tonight's agenda and are limited to 3 minutes. Mr. Willis will keep the time for us. And some of you may be doing this for the first time ever. This is an opportunity for the commission to hear from you. We do not engage or respond, we listen. The 3 minutes are for your comments, not ours. And the comments should not include personal attacks or vulgar language. Because we have people requesting to speak on 2 different items tonight, we will have public comments on one item and then the other so that they're together. I will now open the public comment for item 8.2. First up, Tony Treadway.
Good evening, Commissioners, all those who are watching at home. I stand in opposition to the annexation and the rezoning of the property off Hopper Road for 105 condo units. I'd like to first introduce everyone here who came tonight to find the City Commission meeting on the other end of town to stand in opposition of this. If you're in opposition of the Hopper Road annexation, please stand up. I'd also like to present a petition of people in the neighborhood, a total of 37 people who have signed in opposition of tonight's decision on whether or not to annex this property, and they are all in opposition. You know, I'm enamored by you guys and the hard work that you do, and the graciousness and the openness that you've had in us listening in to the way you are considering this annexation, so I thank you very much. I view the City Commission as two things: visionaries and great risk managers. And tonight, I want you to manage a risk, and that's Indian Ridge Road. It is a hazard. Traffic studies by Randy Tribbett and your traffic officials have said it's unsafe today, and we cannot allow another 105 condo units to be built basically a stone's throw away from Indian Ridge Road. We've got to protect those lives, and you don't want to wake up some morning and hear that a school bus or a city trash truck has killed somebody on Indian Ridge Road. It is really a traffic hazard, found out by you guys. Once we improve that, the traffic's only going to get worse because the access will be much better. So what I'm basically asking you tonight is to do this: proclaim that the road is unsafe. It's going to take millions of dollars to improve that road, and the city has its own financial challenges. Mayor Hunter just admitted that it's going to take years for the budget to recover from recent spending. So I ask that you do this: put a moratorium on big developments on Indian Ridge Road until the road is fixed, because nothing else is going to protect people, especially the addition of 105 more families off the road. This is nothing against the people who are living at Archer's Point. I feel sorry for those folks because they've got conditions there that are unsatisfactory. For example, there's a 12-foot retention pond that needs to have a fence there, but people have put a jungle gym up 2 feet away from it. Thank you for consideration. Vote no, and put a moratorium on this disaster.
Next on comment, Jason Witten. And Mr. McSpadden will adjust the volume so you don't have to touch the microphone.
Okay, I don't have to touch the microphone?
Yeah.
All right.
We should be able to adjust this based on how your level is.
Okay, great. Thank you. I just want to get straight to the point, but I'm relatively a new resident to Johnson City. My wife, 2 kids, and I moved here from Southern California in June of 2023 to escape the high-density neighborhoods like the one being proposed on the Fox property. We intentionally chose a low-density neighborhood with houses on a decent-sized lot to raise our family. We love our new neighborhood and city. This newly proposed development would be directly behind our property. While we knew this open land would be developed one day, we hoped it would be in harmony with the low-density neighborhoods immediately surrounding it. Larger lots complement the existing surrounding community and keeping additional traffic congestion to a minimum. This neighborhood has already been impacted by Archer's Point, a large single-family residential development still under construction. Archer's Point is adding 120 homes to the immediate area. The increase in population from this development is already impacting traffic and safety on Indian Ridge Road. While Indian Ridge is considered a collector road, it is narrow and curvy with a very sharp curve midway through it. There are often accidents at this curve which completely shut down the road. Exiting Indian Ridge onto West Market Street in the afternoons requires quite a wait as traffic backs up at least 10 to 15 car lengths. Woodland Elementary School is located on Indian Ridge. Traffic in the mornings only slow down to the school zone speed limit when a patrol car is parked in front of the school. Traffic zooms by on the other days and makes it difficult to safely get out of the school's parking lot after dropping children off in the morning. There is a middle turning lane approaching from the east, but not from the west. When school traffic backs up from the west, cars speed around those waiting to turn into the parking lot. My wife has witnessed many near collisions and heart-stopping moments while waiting in the afternoon car line. I understand the need to encourage the development of affordable housing units in the city. I support this initiative, but want to help ensure that this beautiful and charming city does not become too much like the city in California that I recently moved from. Compressing 8.5 units per acre in the middle of the beautiful low-density neighborhood will change the feel and culture of our area. High-density neighborhoods like that should be built closer to main roads that can handle the inevitable additional traffic and congestion, a strategic plan for the location of high-density neighborhoods should be developed instead of allowing developers to propose them whenever a piece of land becomes available in the middle of existing single-family neighborhoods. Are you willing to let developers control the future of our city? I have met with many neighbors on Hopper Road and the surrounding streets since this development was proposed. We are all joining together to oppose this high-density development in the middle of our neighborhood. The issues it will bring will far outweigh the current benefits we enjoy living here. I ask that you be strategic about the future land development here in Johnson City. Decisions made today will have long-term implications. Let's make decisions that lead the city in a positive direction for both of the future residents.
Next up on the list is Jay Miller. Welcome, Mr. Miller.
Appreciate your allowing this time. I really haven't got much to add beyond what has already been said, but I do think it's important. I've lived in Johnson City for about 20 years. And when I first moved here, State of Franklin Road had very little traffic. Now on State of Franklin Road, if you try to get on the highway at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you're basically backed up 2 traffic lights. And that reflects the growth of Johnson City. And Indian Ridge Road just can't handle more traffic than it already has. And I would point out to you that I think Johnson City needs to take a serious look at the pathways around it. And the traffic has really become a major issue in this town. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Charles Allen.
Thank you. I try to keep my speech short. If it was long, I'll get Jason to say it for me. He did a good job. I'm Charles Allen. We live in Huntington Green. My family and I have lived there for 30 plus years. We've been driving Indian Ridge Road for 30 plus years, including our kids. We're adamantly opposed to the Hopper Road annexation and development. Per the city's own traffic study, Indian Ridge can't handle the current traffic, much less any additional traffic. The road doesn't have any shoulders. It has deep ditches along both sides. There's a blind hill and a curve just before you get to the entrance to the proposed development. Reminds me of a book, some of you will remember this, Ralph Nader wrote many years ago called Unsafe at Any Speed. It was about the Corvair. It could have been about Indian Ridge Road. It's a good title. Before any further annexations or developments are allowed, Indian Ridge needs to be brought up to city standards. This road should be widened, shoulders added, curbs added, gutters, sidewalks from Woodland School to Market Street. That's the standard the city requires of developers, and that's the standard the city should hold themselves to when they improve a road. There also needs to be a traffic light and turn lanes at Market Street. When we came out of our subdivision to come over here a few minutes ago, traffic is backed up from Market Street past the subdivision. So somebody was nice enough to let us out, but there were a ton of cars down to the left of our subdivision. We couldn't turn right, which would have been the shorter way to go because traffic's backed up there, and you couldn't turn left. And this is a quarter mile. I mean, that's what I'm saying. There's already too much traffic on that road, especially with the recent D.R. Horton development. And the last thing I want you to think about this, the city's aware that we've got a road that can't handle current traffic. If you were to allow additional development, and this is pretty touchy, especially with what's going on right now, does that place any liability on the city? If there's a wreck or if a child or anybody else is killed that's trying to walk along the road and that traffic has increased because the city has allowed future development knowing that the road can't handle it, does that put some culpability there? You know we'll be named. And when I say we, I mean the city and the taxpayers in any lawsuit. So I think that's something we need to really take a look at. I appreciate the job you guys doing and are doing, and I would respectfully ask that you vote no on this annexation and development and not allow any further development on Indian Ridge, not one house, until the road's brought up to city standards. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. Next is Anthony Everhart.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I echo the comments that have come before, also concerned about the ongoing development off of Indian Ridge and the plans to continue to put homes on that road when the road does not support further city development. If we're going to have city-type developments, we should have city-type roads that support them. Archer's Point now has a growing population and is not even near capacity yet. At some point, we'll house dozens, if not more, of children who can't even access the elementary school less than 0.2 of a mile away by sidewalk. It's too dangerous to walk that road. The road has limited sight lines. It has little to no shoulder at most places. It is not safe for people to walk. So if we're going to have city developments, we need city infrastructure to support, and that includes a road that has appropriate curbs, drainage, and sidewalks. So I would like to see no further high-density developments in the area until the roads can support that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Edwin Gwynn.
And it seems like most of the comments have addressed most of my concerns. When it comes to safety on Indian Ridge Road, I live in Huntington Green, and from my house, I can see Indian Ridge Road right in front of my house, and then off it goes onto the field. And since I've been there, I've seen one miss on the corner, and as soon as you hit the edge, you have about 9 feet, then drops about 8 to 12 inches. And once your tire gets there, you're kind of stuck. I've seen them go off, hit this tree, across the street at the neighbor, someone went off and hit the stump. One time, a lady was coming, caught the edge of the broken road. She went off, struck the telephone pole in front of my house, and I went down to help her, and it was an elderly lady. And then another time off in the field when they were coming, the edge caught him again, another car. That one went off the road, struck a tree. The tree fell on top and collapsed the top of the car. So when I look at Indian Ridge Road and I say, hey, it's unsafe, I'm speaking from personal experience. It's just the accidents I've seen from my house, not counting the ones I haven't seen. So you have to develop. You know, there's talk about, well, it's similar to the density nearby, which really isn't true. There's 2 small R3 parcels that are there. Everything else is R2. You got Archer's Point, which is a whole other thing that was approved. But you don't want that kind of approval there. Somewhere else, fine. Go ahead, maybe R2, R2A, something that's reasonable that matches everything else, and that would be good. And then with Indian Ridge and the road and the way it collapses from Poplar Ridge as you head toward Johnson City, there's a drainage ditch that comes right along the edge of that road, and that's what's washing out the road. So every day I hear them, you know, if they're landscapers and they're carrying a cart, they're going off that edge, people going off that edge. So that's just part of the particular safety concerns that just wanted to mention.
Thank you, sir. Next, we will have public comment on item 5.1, settlement BP et al. Versus City of Johnson City. And first on the list to speak is David Adams.
Is this okay?
Yes.
All right. Well, I'm David Adams, 3 Coventry Court. Got my own little timer here to keep up. So this is mostly directed to the 4 returning members of this board. You recently voted to settle a lawsuit regarding actions that occurred during your tenure. Not a single one of you has expressed accountability, remorse, or a desire for truth. Every ounce of financial good you have done for our city up to this point has been eclipsed. I hope you understand that this $28 million settlement is now your greatest contribution. You chose to make nice when you should have made right. You will never convince the residents of this city that you did everything you could if you continue to do everything you shouldn't. You looked the other way as the police department ducked accountability. You haven't even done an internal affairs investigation. The Daigle report calls this out directly, Section 6, Item 3, Finding Number 5. And no, pausing investigation because of lawsuits is not a standard practice. It's a cowardly choice that you made with no basis. Departments that care about integrity don't wait years to find out what went wrong. You chose to early retire the 2 top officers of the police department in the middle of a recruiting crisis. You retroactively spun this as some sort of responsive leadership change, but no, you quietly let Turner and Peters out the back door. You stand by a city manager who blamed the victims, a city manager who tried to buy Sean's house while he was on the run and then decided to lie about it. I have Kathy's text messages here with me, if anyone wants them. I'm glad that we have some institutional changes to our department, but a new kitchen is pretty meaningless if the fridge still has rotten meat in the back. These allegations are heinous, compelling, and now on the national radar. When you engage with the public, it doesn't need to be vetted by PR. You're not on a corporate board. You don't serve at the pleasure of shareholders. You are on the people's board. Your only redress that citizens have is through you, and your authority over the city's business is absolute. To put it bluntly, the buck stops with you. If you are serious about listening, here are some items to consider. I urge you to see to a proper internal investigation yesterday. I urge you to divest the city from transactions involving Shannon Castillo, who does not represent our values. I urge you to openly reconsider Kathy Ball's employment, and I urge you to show an ounce of respect for the nearly 100 victims and families that look to you for leadership. Laura Shea Trent deserved better. Michaela Evans deserved better. I could take 3 minutes just rattling off names of good people who deserve better. I urge you to engage with citizen concerns directly without looking back at PR for guidance.
Victoria Hewlett.
Hi, my name is Victoria Hewlett. First, I want to genuinely thank Mayor Hunter for responding, being willing to put this item on the agenda, and recognizing how significant and traumatic this ordeal has been to the community. I hope that you will all recognize in this room not only the anger and frustration, which is certainly present and justified, but also the resilient, loving, compassionate community here that just wants to see things get better and wants to have a seat at the table as we move forward in pursuit of accountability, justice, and real solutions that will ensure sexual assault victims are taken seriously when they report a crime. First, I want to suggest that the City Commission host a series of town halls to foster sustained community dialogue. I don't think we can come to real solutions until that sustained dialogue happens. We have precedent for this. As years ago when this news first started breaking, I worked with Kathy Ball to plan listening sessions with the community. I think that was a decent start, but not enough. I would love to see us have these meetings include real solution workshopping, bringing sexual assault experts and victim service providers into the room to dialogue between the community and city leadership, and workshop ideas for solutions together. Just last night, ETSU held a session with a group of such professionals. I'm sure folks like this could be mobilized again. Second, I believe this bring in an advisory board that can assist the police department in handling reports from victims in a responsible way. I understand some changes have been made after the release of the Daigle report. If great progress has been made there, I don't think it's been communicated well to the public. We should understand people are out there living very complicated lives, working 2 or 3 jobs, trying to survive, sometimes single parents. Not everyone can come out to every meeting, but people still want to be engaged. An advisory board could be a trusted liaison that could communicate actions being taken by the city through the press, email marketing, and more. Third, I really want to see our community get some sense of accountability and transparency in this case. And I don't know exactly the specifics of how all of that should be carried out, but I do know that without accountability and transparency, anything else will feel empty to people. I've heard city officials say they don't want this issue to define us. I don't either. It does not define us. We are far more than this stain that has been put on our city. But the only way to not let public distrust of our city institutions for many years to come continue, we need to be brave, face this issue head on, be willing to work through the emotions, be willing to seek real accountability, and proactively involve the public in the reconciliation process. And I want to end by saying I have all the faith in the ability of this community and the people that showed up today to come together, to move through this issue, to come out on the other side with a more accountable and more ethical city government than ever. And I hope y'all will be a part of that process.
Next, we'll invite Mr. Brad Batt.
Howdy. Good evening, y'all. I appreciate you taking this necessary first step to listen, and I see all of you listening, and I think you are going to try to do the job that you think is necessary. But this is a major problem that has, as you can see, a lot of people in the city upset, a lot of people scared, women concerned that they cannot be protected by our police, and those are real issues. And I hope that you continue to listen and you take them in the spirit that they're brought here. Because I personally think that at least a few members on this commission are very dismissive of ideas. In the last year, we saw when the city had some things it wanted to promote, like the changes to the commission, to the charter, you commented that people who had different opinions didn't share values of East Tennessee. I think that's wrong. So I hope this commission, especially on this issue, will recognize that preventing rape and protecting women in our community is not a partisan issue, is not a Republican issue or a Democrat issue, and that there's a void of trust that could be repaired here, and it's going to have to reach across political lines, especially when the head of one party is a rapist. But you have a lot of people willing here in this room to do some of that work, and I hope you will listen to them. They've brought a lot of good ideas. Organizations here, the Democratic Party has some ideas, the Northeast Democratic Socialist Alliance has some ideas. I hope you will listen to them and not dismiss them. And there are many Republicans that are mad. I imagine the fiscal conservatives are up in arms. 28 million, it's a lot of money. We have 2 more lawsuits, right? I care about this community too. I have a 7th grade daughter, 13, and she's going to graduate in 2030 from Science Hill High School. I've lived here for 15 years. Todd, you've been here for 30. I'm a member of this community, and I bring my values with me, and so do these people. So I ask that you listen, and I see many of you writing things down. I think that's really good. I think that you're listening, and then we want action. We see what this commission can do when you have a mission, such as carving out a law, a state law, to regulate alcohol. Show us the same temerity on this issue to pursue real accountability and transparency and show the nation what a city can look like with police that is not overfunded and unregulated, but that truly protects and serves a community. Thank you.
Next, we have Ms. Emma Sherlin.
Good evening. Can I move this?
He can adjust.
Okay. Can you hear me fine?
Yes.
Okay.
And you don't have to go to it. He'll adjust it. You just
Okay.
don't have to do
Okay,
it.
I can step back. Thanks. Okay. My name is Emma Grace Sherlin, and I've been a Tri-Cities resident all my life. Like many others here, I want to put my unique skills to use to make our community a safe and loving place for all of us. It is courageous of us to acknowledge that our city is not a safe and loving place right now. The reality is that the efficacy of our systems of justice depend on the money, effort, and integrity of the people we put in charge of those systems. The Sean Williams case exemplifies that those in charge with managing the money, effort, and people our government relies on to function do not know how to do so. Furthermore, the officers included in Kat Dahl's lawsuit are fundamentally incapable of fulfilling their duties. Every one of you who made the choice to protect Sean Williams also made the decision to forfeit the right to your positions. Rather than make you feel shame for the structural failures that have resulted in unspeakable harm for the guaranteed 60 survivors of Sean Williams' terror and a $27 million problem for the taxpayer, we want to work with you to see to it that the culture and structures of racism, sexism, and abuse in our area are completely dismantled, or we will do everything that we can to replace you. because there are more than enough people in this city who are brave enough to hold Johnson City's systems of injustice and culture of abuse right in front of our eyes and learn to actually heal it from the inside out. Not settle it away with lawsuits and happy retirement wishes. We are not at the end of this scandal, even if you all wish we were. We're at the very beginning. The people of Johnson City ask you for a town hall so we can all collectively decide an agenda for how to proceed from here. We want all of the facts and lingering questions on the table, and we want survivors to be at the center of deciding priority. There are still officers to terminate, independent investigations to conduct, rape kits to test, and testimonies to be honored. It might be tempting to prioritize the reputation and status of yourselves and others in positions of authority who have been implicated in this corruption, but I promise you that it will only put a Band-Aid on an issue we could get to the bottom of right now. And that Band-Aid is bound to cost us more time and money in the future than it will cost to appropriate the time and money we have to put capable, competent, and self-loving people and procedures in place so that we never find ourselves in this position again. Thank you.
Sylvan Bruin.
Good evening, commissioners, leaders. Thank you very much for this opportunity to let the residents speak. No one wants to see the city or JCPD fail, but clearly trust has been broken and many residents are still being harmed by this situation. So I have 4 sets of questions that come in complement to everything that has been said so far, and I hope you will provide responses publicly, or either in this meeting or in a different public engagement. Number 1, how do you reconcile the cognitive dissonance of paying $28 million in a settlement while at the same time saying that the city and JCPD did nothing wrong? That just doesn't work. Number 2, on the payment of $27 million out of the city reserve, how is that massive amount of money not compromising the city's future, our rainy day and emergency funds? How are you going to replenish those reserves, especially in the context of the John Sevier Building development incentives and other very large projects that have been discussed before? Number 3, now that this case has made national news, what accountability steps are you individually and collectively are going to take to do what is right by the victims and by the residents, and in so doing, mending the city's reputation against a national shame that has been brought down on Johnson City? And number 4, as you've heard from many residents tonight and from the questions, this format is not conducive to a dialogue. Now, to increase transparency and accountability and to provide clear answers to residents, I'm asking you, will you host a public town hall with residents? And if not, will you participate in one if organizations that are doing civic work in our city are organizing one? Thank you very much.
Ginger Keller Ferguson.
Good evening. I've lived in Johnson City for about 30 years. For the last 15, I've also been a business owner here. I come before you not only as a taxpayer and a business owner, but also as someone who is accustomed to coming up with creative solutions to social problems. The nature of my work, I'm speaking here tonight because fellow business owners and our nonprofit professionals and all over the community have been reaching out to me left and right, asking, what can we do about what's happened here? Our nonprofit community and small business owners, myself included, have serious concerns about the national media attention our city has received, not only in relation to this settlement, but in the events that precipitated it. We're already facing economic challenges and uncertainty. We're concerned about the broader economic impacts of this situation on our local economy. What is this going to do to our ability to garner investment in our region and bring businesses to our area? Digital nomads like me are here for the quality of life. I could do my job from anywhere. I chose here. I'm not so confident in that quality of life anymore. It's undermined many of our faith in our safety and our security. Before I go any further, I have read all 48 pages of the Daigle report. I appreciate that the city has already invested in a comprehensive evaluation and review of the police department's operations and a set of recommendations for implementation. I understand some, maybe most, of these recommendations have been implemented. And I also understand that perhaps the city's felt a little hamstrung in communicating with us because of ongoing litigation and investigations. But we do need greater transparency and accountability from you. We need an ongoing dialogue with our leaders, not just what the media reports to us or us standing here talking at you. We don't want to talk at you. We want to talk with you, okay? Our community roundtables are great, but we need some variation in the scheduling there to accommodate working residents. They can't all be in the middle of the day, guys. Most importantly, we need an ongoing public evaluation and data to let us know whether things are actually improving. If implementing the Daigle recommendations is working, great. We need to shout it from the rooftops. We need to tell our story of redemption. We got to get there, but we need to tell our story of redemption. We're worried about the economic impacts, very long term, of this reputational damage. We've hit rock bottom here, and it's going to take nothing short of excellence to redeem Johnson City. Sensationalized or not, we've got to do meaningful work around our reputation, inside and out, and prove it. I could share ideas all night, but I do want to end with one quick one. We used to get these great water quality reports. We need a public safety report. Don't park it on the internet or put it in a press release. Mail it to every home, please.
Anything to hide, don't you say, hey, let's take it to court and let's bring it out there. And if there's people that need to be brought up and charged, if they were doing guilty stuff, then bring those people up. You know, if people were just incompetent, incompetence is not something that you get, you don't get paid for incompetence. We may be able to do better, but it's not something that's, you would bankrupt the city to take care of. And, it seems to me that this is going to take a long time to recover from spending this kind of money. I don't know what the plan is to come up with that, but I pay a lot of taxes already to the city of Johnson City, and I'm not looking forward to paying more for things that we had nothing to do about, And then my other question, I know you guys don't answer questions, but it seems like $1 million is a pretty low amount of insurance for a city this size. I don't understand why our liability insurance is only $1 million. I mean, if we had reinsurance or something like that to the tune of $10 million or $20 million, I guarantee some insurance company would probably be fighting on our behalf. And we wouldn't just be saying, well, let's just settle this thing and go away. So, I don't know, I guess that's my comments. But to me, it looks like we're guilty if we're settling this thing. And if we're not guilty, then why don't we just let it play out in public? And that's, I guess, what I got to say.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mr. Hunter. I spoke with you about 8 weeks ago at a city commission meeting discussing the alcohol hours, and since then, the city I've devoted my entire life to, a tiny magical city, has become forever infamed by becoming the biggest city in the country to let go a most prolific predator. I live a really small life, and I'm not a big fan of systems, and I don't spend a lot of time hanging out with people in suits sitting on their pedestals. You really, really, really had to make a lot of people really unhappy to get them here. My life is small, and it was in the hospitality industry. There were 400 reports. Most of those girls were my girls for 20 years. Mr. Hunter, I want to speak to you directly. There is such a thing as tone deaf. There's such a thing as willful ignorance. And then there's something brand new I've discovered, and it's vicious cruelty and it's thoughtlessness. With everything going on in this city, the last time I stood in front of you, you made me say my government name, my home address, and then you put that information on a public YouTube channel. That is utterly unsafe. In order to have the privilege to even speak with you, I have to expose my address. Then you told me, you made eye contact, sir. You said, I would love to answer your questions via email. And I emailed every person sitting here twice in a group, respectfully, questions and concerns. I have not had a response. And that's a lot of things going on that don't have much to do with where we're at with Sean Williams, but actually has everything to do with it. Has everything to do with the alcohol hours. Kathy, we know that prohibition-era methods do not make women more safe, they make them less safe. We know that. That's in data. You're a city manager. You're in the top 8% of earners. You have education and resources that far outpaces mine. And my data is fact-based. My data is science-based. And in August 2023, Ms. Ball, you held a press conference. You looked at those young ladies and you said that they were partially at fault for their assaults. You said that. That happened. And I'm done talking about systems, numbers, or data, because the person that spoke before me last time, he had 8 minutes. And I ergo know that exceptions can be made. But I feel confident you're going to give me 3. So I'll cut it off here, because I am not going to speak to systems or numbers. I am going to speak to names. Say them. Say them. So, Miss Kathy, this is Laura Shea. She was 23 years old. Woman to woman, you have a daughter. She is young, she is beautiful, and she left the apartment that you tried to buy with Shannon Castillo.
Thank you, Ms. Adler.
You're very welcome. With Shannon Castillo, she died. She's never coming back. She can't speak, but we can. That was you.
Thank you. Allison Owens.
Hi, I'm Allison Owens. I don't really have much more to say than people who have already said things much more eloquent than I. But I grew up next to the Trents, and I didn't know those details about Laura until I read that article. And it's a shame that there are people sitting in this room who are connected to that, and these police officers. Why should we have any confidence in the police that are standing here in this room when we're paying $28 million to cover up crimes that they've committed? It doesn't make any sense. I was born and raised here. I've never heard of anything like this. And what will our future be like now that we're spending all of this money on something that the people who are paying for it had nothing to do with? Thanks.
Thank you. Next, we have Jacob Llewellyn.
First, I want to thank the City Commission for adding this to the agenda and giving us this opportunity. I really do sincerely appreciate that. Before I get into the main subject of my discussion, I want to read a short passage from Psalms chapter 82, verses 2 through 4, and then say a short prayer. How long will you defend the unjust and show partiality to the wicked? Defend the weak and the fatherless. Uphold the cause of the poor and the oppressed. Rescue the weak and needy. Deliver them from the hand of the wicked. Lord, I want to thank you for this opportunity to speak. I want to pray that this time will be fruitful, that ideas will be shared, and that justice will be done, and that the weak will be protected. I want to believe that everyone in this room wants to do justice to the most vulnerable in our city. I also believe many in this room feel justice has not been done. Furthermore, we feel a defense of silence and inertia has been used to shield systems and people from accountability. It is my hope to push a couple ideas that can satiate these concerns that thrive in a vacuum. First, I would request that the internal investigation be performed. It has been shielded with claims of litigation preventing it, but as mentioned before, the Daigle report has made it clear that that investigation should have been performed. I don't know how the DA and the TBI can make declarations of the sanctity of the JCPD without such an investigation. The lack of information of an internal investigation has hampered other people's pursuits for justice. And it is necessary if the citizens are to know that we have found the truth. Second, I would request, as I have suggested before, that we conduct another third-party audit. The Daigle report, along with its conclusions in regard to sexual assault investigation, made troubling comments in regards to the evidence lockup. They described the JCPD's evidence lockup as archaic. The poor state of the evidence lockup added months to the completion of that report, and it even required the Daigle Group to visit in person to assess its suitability, given that that is typically an audit that they do remotely and just receive a report from the city. Given the current state of the broken trust between the JCPD and the citizens, I do not think an assurance from this council or from the JCPD will be enough. That is why I am requesting more investigation, third-party audits, so we can get more information and understand what the truth of this matter is. I hope and pray that these steps can help us all find solutions to rescue the weak and to deliver them from the hands of wicked people like Sean Williams.
Thank you, Ms. Ball. I prepared some comments I would like to share on this particular agenda item. There are several points I want to speak to, given the fact that we have open litigation and the importance of the topic to us, to all of us. And I want to make sure that I don't miss anything, and I don't think that this is a topic to shoot from the hip without thinking through it ahead of time. So I ask for a little grace as I go through my comments. I hope to answer some questions and provide some peace of mind to residents. First of all, I want to say on behalf of the Commission and City Management, thank you to those of you who came out tonight and spoke. There was some good input and some constructive ideas. We appreciate that. As elected officials, it is our duty to listen to our constituents. And we hear you, and we're listening. And we appreciate you. Our commission meetings are just one way to do this. There are many other methods to share your thoughts, such as phone conversations, in-person meetings, and emails. And so please reach out to us with your thoughts and concerns. There's no doubt that Sean Williams and his horrible criminal acts have had a profound impact on our community. What he did has deeply affected our entire community, especially the victims. These are uncharted waters, and I want you to know we are committed to navigating these challenges with the community's best interests guiding our way. We understand that the community is frustrated that the city has been restricted from discussing the situation due not only to open litigation, but also a gag order from our courts. Now, one of the lawsuits has been settled, but two remain open, which still restricts our ability to discuss these matters in public meetings. But we do hear you. We hear your concerns, and many of them are valid. You know, all of us up here, we live here too. This is our home as well. Some of us grew up here. We raised children or are raising children in this community. I have two daughters. One of them will be attending our hometown university this coming fall, the same university that my wife and I attended. I would not raise my daughters in a place or send them to a place that I did not feel that they would be safe. Each of us up here have a different story on how we got involved in serving this city. But regardless of what motivated and inspired us, we all serve for one reason, because we have a deep care for this city and the residents. I speak for all of us in saying we make these difficult decisions, always trying to do what is right in the community's best interest, because it is our community as well. So last week we learned from General Steve Finney that the TBI and the FBI have completed their investigation of our police department and found no credible evidence of corruption, bribery, or criminal activity. But while there was no evidence of criminal wrongdoing, there were shortcomings in the handling of some police investigations. That leads us to the civil litigation and the risk to the city. The department's deficiencies, combined with the heinous criminal acts of Sean Williams, could have led to a verdict in the civil class action lawsuit that was recently settled. It could have led to a verdict totaling more than our entire city's annual budget. Settling this case eliminated that risk. The settlement also represents our commitment to support the victims and to help them move forward with their lives. We want to be clear, Sean Williams was solely responsible for his crimes and has been rightfully convicted. And our hearts go out to each and every individual affected by his criminal acts. It's also important to know that less than 2 weeks after concerns about Sean Williams came to light, the new city manager took steps to ensure transparency and accountability. She began looking for an independent expert to audit the police department, as has been mentioned in the daily report. That action was swift and decisive to ensure our community was safe and that our police department was operating in a way that was appropriate. This audit is and has been available on our website. The audit, it discovered deficiencies, and the city made sure they were corrected as quickly as possible. With the support of the commission, the city manager and the police department took the following actions. We approved funds to hire 21 police officers and create a dedicated special victims unit. We provided funds for the Washington County Family Justice Center, which serves victims of abuse and sexual assault. This commission also supported the Children's Advocacy Center by funding an additional forensic interviewer to assist child victims of abuse who face the task of testifying in prosecutions. The police department updated and implemented its policies and procedures to protect and support sexual assault victims. The police department has also implemented all of General Finney's sexual assault protocols. In addition, the JCPD has revamped its reporting systems to improve the tracking of these cases. As I mentioned, we have a new city manager, but we also have a new police chief and new leadership within our police department. The changes that have been made are nothing short of a major overhaul of our police department, and we are committed to continually reviewing our processes and growing as a department. This is just the beginning, but today we can assure you, our community, that the police department has improved how it investigates sexual assault cases. JCPD is a better agency, and Johnson City is better for it. All victims of crime deserve the very best service we can provide. It's what our community expects, and it's what our community deserves. And they also expect appropriate oversight, and this commission is committed to holding the police department to the highest possible standard. I thank you all for your time, and I need a break. If I could entertain a motion to recess. Is there a motion? I'll make a motion. Stand in recess. Ms. Loss?
Commissioner Brock? Yes. Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cox?
Yes.
Mayor Hunter?
Yes. Let me take a break.
How much are you personally going to pay on this 2017? How about writing a check for $100,000 just to show your bid for redemption?